Welcome to Street Talk, the program that brings public meetings to your doorstep. I'm Dave Edwards, and I'll be your moderator. We hope to update you about where things stand on a major upgrade to the ramps and streets at Interstate 25 and University Avenue. Today is June 19th, 2018. If you're watching tonight, we're ready to take your questions live. For those of you watching a rebroadcast, feel free to visit us at i25-University.com to give your suggestions. This is the second in a series of public meetings on the proposal. We'd like to update you on our progress so far and to introduce you to the artist who recently completed the artwork that will grace the project's walls and embankments. We are currently meeting at Las Cruces City Hall, where Spanish translation is available. For those of you at City Hall, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. To others watching us through Comcast or internet streaming, welcome. And feel free to send us comments or questions tonight in one of several ways. To review each of the ways to participate in tonight's meeting, visit i25-University.com. The New Mexico Department of Transportation and their selected consulting firms of Bohannon Houston and Molson Corbin are committed to providing an effective way of interacting with the public. And we hope that you'll find this format helpful and engaging. Let's begin with a presentation from Wyatt Karchner, the Vice President at Molson Corbin and the I-25 University Project Manager. Wyatt?
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I appreciate everybody taking some time to come out and learn about this project and participate in this. This is our second public meeting that we've had, and so what I'm going to do tonight is kind of brief you on where we are. If you want to go back and look at some more of the details on how we got here, you can go to the website, and our first public meeting is actually on there, so you can find some more details there if you would like. Just kind of go quickly through our design team. As Dave mentioned, Molson Corbin is the consultant for this project, and we've teamed with Bohannon Houston, Wood, Ecosphere, Cobb Finley, and Eco Resources Management for this project. As you all are aware, I'm sure, this project is for the I-25 University interchange right here in Las Cruces. We are actually studied more than just the interchange itself. We looked all the way back to the Loman interchange and then as far to the south as the I-10, I-25 interchange, and then also from Telshore to Locust. But our study and our actual project area is focused right at the interchange itself. A little background on the interchange. I-25 was originally constructed in the 1960s. The I-25 University interchange was constructed in 1966, and then it's been rehabbed in 1988. And then again, many of you guys probably remember the 2012 rehabs that put in the loop ramp and extended some acceleration lanes. And then just recently, the third lane was added between Loman and University on I-25 as well. Everybody that lives in Las Cruces and accesses this university interchange, especially when school's in session or there's a special event, realizes that the peak hour congestion, especially on I-25 southbound, can be problematic. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to improve with this project. Pedestrian and multimodal access is also in great need of improvement. There's very few sidewalks, and if there are sidewalks, they are often not compliant with current ADA standards. And then along with that peak hour congestion, the southbound off-ramp geometry, and then one of the major concerns is safety associated with all of these things. So with this project, these are the things that we're going to try to address. Just here's a picture of what you might see on a school day as traffic is backed up nearly to Missouri on the southbound off-ramp. So what our scope was, and this was talked about more in our first public meeting, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly here, was we did an interstate access change request. And that's a federal document that's required for an interstate interchanges when you make a change to those. And in that document, we actually had to look at several alternatives, do a traffic analysis, traffic counts, and evaluate all of those alternatives to determine a preferred alternative. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We've also had public involvement, not only with this project, but there was a previous phase that had public meetings. We've done an environmental process, which resulted in a categorical exclusion. And then currently we're in the final design. We are at 90% design, and we will have plans turned in August of this year. So everything's getting pretty close to wrapping up. Through the study process and what we're actually designing is shown here on the screen. This is what our recommended alternative was. After the meeting, we do have an architectural model that you guys can come and look at. It's a little easier to see than this two-dimensional version here, but I'm going to quickly walk you through how this interchange will function. First, just to orient everybody, this is I-25 running north to south here. The Pan Am Center is sitting down in here, and then the hospital is over here. Our improvements are mainly focused on the southbound off-ramp and how that can be improved. So currently, the southbound off-ramp, you get off and you go up to University Avenue, and that's your only choice. Well, now you will have two choices. You can go up to University Avenue like you do now to a signalized intersection, or you can stay in the right lane at this ramp and go down and underneath University Avenue, very similar to how you go under Loman on Trevice, just further to the north. And so there's a new bridge that'll be constructed here. The off-ramp will go into this large single-lane roundabout where you can have basically four options. You could go back north on Trevice, you could go west on Trevice to access Arrowhead Drive, or you could go south onto Trevice down to Wells, or if you wanted to, you could actually keep going around to get back on the interstate here. With this new bridge, we also took the opportunity to have Trevice go underneath University Avenue. So Trevice goes into this smaller roundabout on the north side of University Avenue. You can still continue to go on Trevice like you do now, or you can go under University Avenue. One of the things that we did to ease construction, here's the existing University Avenue, and we've pushed University Avenue to the north. And that does a couple of things. It allows a lot of this bridge to be constructed offline so that traffic isn't disturbed while that bridge is being constructed. And then it also will decrease the time needed for the construction as the contractor has a little bit more room to work. Some of the other things that you'll notice, to access I-25 northbound, the only movement that you'll have now is the new loop ramp. This left turn will be eliminated. We did that because this left turn not only is dangerous movement a left turn is, but it also adds time to this signal cycle. And so by eliminating this left turn, you have 30 to 45 seconds of more green time on University Avenue. So it makes University Avenue flow much better. To accommodate pedestrians and bicycles, we've done lots of things to improve the safety. On University Avenue itself, we've added a buffered bike lane. Currently, there's a shoulder, if you would call it that, on University Avenue. You kind of risk your life. We're also adding sidewalks on both sides of University. Currently, there's only sidewalks on one side. One of the other things that we're doing is the Trevice Trail. We're extending that to the Sesparo Community Park. And then we're also adding sidewalks and bike lanes on Trevice. And then we've made special accommodations for bicycles through the roundabouts. And we have a video that will show you about how bicycles and pedestrians can use roundabouts. Just to give you a blow up here of this is the southern roundabout. So where my mouse is here, this is the off ramp. So if you're coming on I-25 and you want to get off, you'll come here, you'll yield to somebody that's in the roundabout, and then based off of our traffic modeling, we found that most people are actually going to go down Trevice and access NMSU, which is kind of to be expected. And so on that loop, on that route, we made sure that there's no pedestrian conflicts here. So you can see pedestrians cross here, but there's no pedestrian conflicts along this. So somebody can access from I-25, go around the roundabout, and directly on to Trevice Drive. One of the things that we've done with this roundabout to keep it simple is it's a single lane roundabout. You can see that if you're on Trevice and you're headed into the parking lots, that there are two lanes coming in, but you can see that this is a raised median that separates the roundabout. So there's no way that you can switch lanes in a roundabout, and it eliminates a lot of that confusion. We've also accommodated large trucks, being that this is an interchange. off of the interstate. So you can see this inside piece here is a concrete apron where trucks can actually use that if they need to for their wheels to bump on. We've done similar things here as well. We wanted to control the speeds of passenger vehicles, so we squeezed things down, but we've also accommodated those larger trucks trying to make those movements. And then I'm going to go to the north roundabout. This is on Trevice, just to show you that it's a simple 3-lane roundabout. We have made accommodations specifically on this roundabout for bicycles. The video will talk about it more, but I just want to hit on it again because I think it's important. Depending on your skill level as a bicyclist, you could obviously use the multi-use path, the Trevice path, if you wanted. There is a dedicated bike lane on Trevice, and if you're headed from Missouri to University Avenue, we've actually accommodated bicycles with a off-the-road bicycle lane through the roundabout here. So you can see that the roundabout is concrete, the bicycle lane is asphalt, and then the sidewalk would be concrete again. So not only does it have a vertical difference between the 3 different levels, but it also has the color difference so that it's easy for people to see. Bicyclists could also occupy the entire lane if they wanted to use this roundabout. One of the goals that we set out on this project was to be sustainable. We talk about sustainability all the time in the engineering world and especially architectural world, and you probably have all heard of LEED, so a building is LEED certified. Well, that doesn't really apply to horizontal construction. So what we did with this project is we incorporated Envision, which is started by ACEC, ASCE, the Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure, and APWA. And it is basically a LEEDs for horizontal infrastructure. The DOT does a really good job of being sustainable. And with our project, we have a goal of a gold rating. I think platinum is the highest rating that's available, but gold is something that was achievable by making sure that we make the most of our resources here and recycle things as much as possible. One of the biggest concerns, I think, of everybody here is construction phasing and how will you get through this thing during construction. So through the design, we've taken a lot of that into consideration with the way it was designed. And so with the exception of a very short phase, there will be 2 lanes of traffic on I-25 in each direction at all times. We do have an initial phase where we have to build a little bit of an inside shoulder, but that's a short duration, and then we'll have a paving operation at the end where that's a 1-day operation where they shift traffic around and pave through there. Traffic on University will also have 2 lanes in each direction at all times. We will have night closures to construct or remove medians and things like that, but during peak hours, we want 2 lanes of traffic in each direction. Because we're putting in a new bridge and demoing that existing bridge, we also have to have closures of I-25. You can't put a new bridge beam across I-25 with traffic underneath it. So we will detour traffic on I-25, close I-25, detour them up the ramps, and then back down onto the interstate. We also have a detour on Trevice so that that piece of Trevice can get constructed quicker. And then one of the things that we will have is monthly construction meetings. As a design consultant, we come up with an idea of how we think it should be built, but the contractors who do this all the time usually have better ideas. So they'll keep us informed through their monthly construction meetings on where traffic actually will be and how things will work and the things that they'll be working on. And so all of those will keep you informed throughout the project, throughout the entire construction. Here's our schedule. As I mentioned before, our final design is due in August. We'll bid in October. Construction begins probably early 2019, and right now we're looking at about an 18-month construction time. One of the things that we've incorporated with this project, as this is kind of the gateway into Las Cruces and into NMSU, is we wanted to make it look good. We didn't want it just to be a gray concrete bridge. So we've put a lot of work into aesthetics. And through that, we had an art selection committee that was made up of NMDOT representation, local artists, NMSU, and City of Las Cruces representation. We had 14 artists that applied. Those artists were then screened down to the top 6 finalists, and then we screened them down from 6 to 2. And then with us tonight is Colette Marie, who is our selected artist, and her art's on display here. And then she actually has a pre-recorded piece here that you'll see here in a moment. And so with all these bridges and walls, they're all going to have some art on them as well. And then as far as aesthetics and landscaping, the City of Las Cruces has committed money to landscaping this project, and NMSU will follow this project with landscaping of their own. So that's a big step for Las Cruces, is that we're going to have art, landscaping, and a complete interchange that looks good for the community and something that we can all be proud of. Before we get to questions, I'm going to play a couple of these videos here.
Tonight we have with us Colette Marie, the artist who was selected to design the artwork for the I-25-University project. Welcome, Colette. It's really great to have you with us. And I think it's really wonderful that a local artist was selected to do this project, and you are definitely a local.
Yes, I am. This is my hometown, and I'm actually really honored to have my work showcased here, and in such a big way.
Should we start off with you giving us a little bit of background about how you decided to pursue a career in art and graphics?
I had always wanted to take a photography class, so I went over to the art department for a while, and I would hear the students talking about their critiques, and it just sounded really fun. There was a really great energy in the art department that I wanted to be a part of, so I ended up switching into the arts. And I ended up getting a degree in photography and graphic design.
Oh. You had an exhibit at the Farm and Ranch Museum, which I saw, and I thought it was really terrific. A lot of plants and animals and native things that are iconic images around for our area, and I thought it was really a great,
Thank you.
Great exhibit. And I think we're very, very lucky to have your talent on this project.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the themes that you have going on in the graphics that you designed for the I-25-University project.
Well, the prospectus had some guidelines from the committee that called for particular themes on certain areas of the bridge design. And so the I-25 side, they wanted to have a Las Cruces theme, and then over on the NMSU side, they wanted an NMSU theme, and with some elements of Southwest design mixed into all of that. But one of the main concepts that I was working with was an earth and seed pattern that I developed, and that is basically symbolic of, you know, academic growth and literally planting seeds in the ground to cultivate crops and plants.
So earth and seed, and you have some rather wavy kind of like fields of furrowed ground with the seeds that are getting planted and things like that, and that's kind of in the background, and then you have these larger close-up looks, if you will, of some of the plants and animals. So let's we can talk a little bit about those. But I notice very, very obviously you didn't pick a roadrunner. I mean, I think we see a lot of roadrunners and all sorts of murals and designs and things like that, particularly in our area, but you picked something else. What did you pick besides the Roadrunner, or instead of, rather, the Roadrunner?
Instead of the Greater Roadrunner, I selected the New Mexico whiptail lizard.
The New Mexico whiptail lizard, and why particularly did you pick that?
Well, you see a lot of representation of the roadrunner everywhere. It's a really great bird. I can't deny that. But the whiptail lizard doesn't really get in the limelight very often, so I decided to feature her, especially since she is the New Mexico state reptile.
Right, right. I didn't know that New Mexico had a state reptile. Of course, we know about the roadrunner as the state bird, and the yucca is the state flower. State cookie is the bizcochito.
Yeah.
And of course, the state question, red or green. Right, and we'll talk about chili a little bit later.
Yes, I wanted to include some desert plants that we have here in Las Cruces and in the Southwest. The ocotillo being one, which I feel is underappreciated. It's a really beautiful, it's not a cacti, people think it is a cactus, but it's actually a bush, and the agave is a bush as well. So I featured the blooms of both the agave and the ocotillo, and you'll see on the branches of the agave bloom, you'll see that there's a song sparrow there, which is actually a tribute to my grandmother, because early on she saw my passion for creating art, and so she was a key role in fostering that passion.
And she was a lover of birds. That's great. We do have some wonderful birds around this area. And that century plant, or the agave plant, those blooms, when the sprout comes up and it has those blooms, it's quite spectacular.
It's beautiful.
It really
You can see
is.
many images on Instagram and Facebook when people,
Oh, yeah.
when the blooms come out, and especially with the ocotillos too, you see pictures everywhere.
Right. And of course, like you say, people think it's a cactus, and it looks like most of the year it's kind of like just these spiny sticks sticking up out of the ground. But then, of course, when the rains come, it gets these leaves and these really beautiful blooms. I think I read somewhere it's kind of referred to sometimes as the candle of the desert, because it lights up like the flame is the red color, and it's so bright. It's really beautiful. All right. So what about there's some other images that you've come up with? Can you want to talk about some of those other things that you've put in there?
Well, on the I-25 side, because we experience so much sun with our weather here, I wanted to have something that was representative of that. So I used what I created calling it a sun disk on the side of the gateways, and then also on the pedestrian railing I used a sunburst. And those are basically drawn from some popular Southwest geometric shapes and images that you'll see here around these parts.
Right. We could talk a little bit about some of the images that you have.
Well, for the NMSU side, so the bridge is kind of broken up into different sections, and like I said, there's the I-25 side, and then the gateway that will be heading into the university. And so on the NMSU side, I wanted to, since NMSU is an agricultural college or university and started out that way, I wanted to include crops. And so I selected some major crops around this area, and I chose the pecan and the cotton and of course chili, since we love chili. We can't go without our chili here in Las Cruces. It's part of our culture. It's part of our heritage.
Right. So we have the chili, and of course NMSU, very important in the development of the chili pods. I mean, they started Fabian Garcia, who was considered the father of the modern chili movement, if you will, was working with different strains of chili as far back as 1888. And so very important, and the New Mexico Chili Institute is located at MSU. So obviously we want to probably try to represent the chili that we love so much. So it's my understanding that there's something about pecans and the pecan trees in the NMSU master plan that inspired you to include the pecan trees and the pecans in your design?
Yes, actually I'd like to read to you something from the master plan which helped me decide to include the pecans. To reinforce campus entry and identity, the planting of pecan trees is proposed to continue along all major campus entry drives. These campus entries provide opportunities for identity marking, which will help NMSU achieve greater visibility in the community and provide clear signals that tell visitors to where to enter campus.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to have, the pecans and the pecan leaf, as you see in that design there, sort of like as the same as they're using on campus. They have sort of an identity mark and a signal that's saying, hey, you're coming onto campus.
Coming into NMSU, right. So let's see, well, we talked about chili and cotton, of course, a very important crop here, and onions. I have a relation through marriage that grows a lot of onions and these other things, and I worked a summer in the onion sheds myself, and I know that a lot of work and a lot of onions are produced in this area. So.
And you can't miss the smell when they're
No,
when they're
you
blooming.
can't, and I had a hard time getting it off me after I worked in the onion sheds for quite some time. So, anything else that we'd like to cover that we might have missed somewhere in our discussion about any of your designs or your concepts or anything like that?
Well, I just wanted to say that I wanted to implement larger-than-life imagery to create an immersive art experience for the viewer. So you have these, exceptionally giant crops, chili and cotton, as you're like driving through them, as opposed to seeing, just small little plants on the side of the road. And I also wanted to bring rural elements to an urban landscape. And so people passing through can say, hey, well, this is, I'm getting a little bit of an idea of the culture and the desert life plants that are here in New Mexico and in Las Cruces in particularly.
Right. Kind of talk about the process that you went through to be selected to do the artwork.
I signed up for a newsletter on a website called Cafe, and so they send out these calls for artists. And I actually missed the call, and a friend saw it and sent it to me at the last minute. It was like maybe 4 days before the call was closing. And so I literally spent like 4 days and nights just working and trying to get my submission ready for it was a resume, and I had to do a online portfolio and an annotated list of images, and so I was just basically like scrambling to get everything together at the last minute and submit it by, I think it was a Monday. So I made it just in the nick of time.
Another fortunate thing that happened. Colette would like to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Sadly, every year over 35,000 people die from traffic accidents, many because of head-on and T-bone types of collisions at intersections and freeway ramps, and many because drivers are not paying attention. But what if we could reduce these types of fatalities by 90%? Amazing as it sounds, we can. New Mexicans have a reputation for being pioneers in engineering. Now, here in Las Cruces, we have the opportunity to be an innovator in traffic safety. The innovation is the simple-to-use, one-lane roundabout. The U.S. Department of Transportation reported a 73% drop in injuries at intersections across the United States who converted to single-lane roundabouts. And a Washington State traffic study concluded that this type of roundabout has reduced crashes by 50% and traffic fatalities by a whopping 90%. When safety is considered, it is the most ideal type of intersection. This roundabout will be easier to use than the one at the north end of Main Street in downtown Las Cruces, because any confusion caused by the changing of lanes in the roundabout has been eliminated. This lends to a more intuitive way of using it. Before entering, yield to the cars in the roundabout and pedestrians. After entering, you have the right-of-way, so do not stop or back up. If you miss your exit, simply go around again to get to your exit. Of course, as always, yield to pedestrians while entering and leaving the roundabout. Even though it appears that the reduced speed is hindering traffic flow, studies have shown that because no time is wasted waiting for traffic signals and people making left turns, a roundabout has a better hourly flow than a conventional intersection of the same size. This is a great example of slow and steady wins the race. To those who think roundabouts are too different, this is actually a safety feature because it piques the attention of drivers entering them, and this eliminates the second cause of fatalities. Let's see how the two roundabouts planned for the Interstate 25-University Avenue upgrade will work. Drivers on Traverse from Missouri will approach the north roundabout and have two options. Take the first exit and access University Avenue. Or take the second exit and go under University Avenue to access the NMSU campus. Most drivers exiting Interstate 25 to the southern roundabout will be headed to NMSU campus and parking. They will yield to existing traffic, then take the third exit to access Traverse towards Stewart and Wells Street. To further increase safety and flow, this route has been designed so that drivers will not encounter any pedestrian crossings. Drivers coming from University Avenue can bypass the roundabout by staying on the right lane and yielding to pedestrians. Drivers will see the following signs as they are entering the roundabout. Although it can seem intimidating at first glance, once you break it down, it becomes very easy to grasp. Each arrow tells you how many exits to count until you reach your desired destination. Just look for your destination and count counterclockwise from the entrance to the roundabout. The final arrow tells you if you miss your exit, just go around again to reach it. Hikers and joggers will now have the Traverse Trail extended to Cesbaro Park. Even without signal lights, the crossings are designed for safety. Pedestrians only need to look one direction to cross to the center island, then only look in the other direction to continue. It has been designed so that the pedestrians can see the drivers and drivers can see the pedestrians and yield. The needs of bicyclists have been considered in designing these roundabouts, and dedicated lanes will be built in both directions. For the north roundabout, bicyclists have three options. Option 1, use the dedicated bike lane and then occupy the entire lane when entering and leaving the roundabout. Option 2, use the dedicated bike lane, then use the bike ramp to access the multi-use trail. Use the crosswalks as a pedestrian would, then use the ramp to access the dedicated bike lane north of the roundabout. Option 3, use the multi-use path and cross the roadways as pedestrians would. For bicyclists traveling south on Traverse from Missouri headed to University Avenue, a separated bike lane is available. Bicyclists on Traverse headed south from University Avenue are offered two options. Option 1, use the bike lane to Arrowhead Drive, then access the multi-use trail. Use crosswalks as a pedestrian. Option 2, use the bike lane, but then occupy the left lane to enter the roundabout. This roundabout is not a product of random chance, but of careful, intelligent design by some of the best engineers in New Mexico and you. This has resulted in features for pedestrians, bicyclists, drivers, and even truckers, with the addition of a truck apron around the center that is designed to handle the weight of semi-trucks. We thank you for your continued public participation to help build the safest roads possible. Well, this is the first part of the program, and it's been about hearing from the experts. But now we need to hear from you. So the live Q&A is about to begin. So if you're not with us here at the City Hall, please call in your questions or contact us by email, Twitter, or Facebook. Anyone in the house have a question? If you could come to the podium, right? Just right down here. Yes, sir.
Jack Valencia. I'm a resident in the impacted area, which is south of University Avenue in the Traverse, Missouri corridor. I'm a former city councilman from 1985 through 2001 here, so I'm familiar with some of the improvements over time in which we've had. My question lies in the traffic that is getting off the university and turning and heading west on University Avenue at the intersection of what is presently Traverse and University. And with the bridge that is, what I understand from your presentation, is going to expand additional lane size, is it going to carry traffic or give the ability of traffic that comes off the interstate to access Traverse in the southerly route back, because the roundabouts don't provide that access from what I've seen in your presentation?
Pull this up and make sure I'm following you right here. So with the new, you're talking about this intersection here, correct?
Is that the present
That's the-
Trevice and University Avenue?
Yes.
Yes.
So that is essentially going to remain the same. One of the improvements that we're doing here, you still have the dual left turn lanes.
Correct.
Into the campus. We have, if you're on Trevice, you have a dedicated left, a through into campus, and we've added a dedicated right turn lane. And then also on University Avenue, we've added a dedicated right lane to go back on Trevice.
That is the question that I have. Is there going to be additional capacity to undertake the stacking to turn?
Correct, yes. We do have that dedicated right turn lane, which people now, they kind of use the bike lane and shoulder to make that movement. So we have that. There is also the ability that if you wanted to go underneath University Avenue and take the first exit on the roundabout, you could go back north on Trevice as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is George Pearson. I'm not sure if I saw what the speed limits are through the roundabouts. If you can speak with the speed limits that you're planning, and if you anticipate that that will be the actual speed of the drivers.
So the roundabouts have a posted speed of 15 miles an hour through the roundabouts. We have design speeds of the curves approaching the roundabouts to reduce the speed of the driver from especially like on the interstate one, from 65 miles an hour down to 15 miles an hour. We've also looked at the geometry of the roundabout to make sure that there's no more than 10 miles an hour of speed differential between any leg of the roundabout. Some of the things that we've done in order to slow vehicles down is we've narrowed the lanes so that an everyday person driving will feel a little bit more conflicted and constrained, and so they'll naturally slow down. But we have incorporated those truck aprons so that if a large semi does go through there, they still have that ability and that access.
My name is Marcus Miner, a business owner in the local area, and I've observed recently.
Speak directly to the microphone.
I've observed recently a large backup of westbound traffic on University that are attempting to go southbound on I-25. So there's a backup on that bridge, the proposed bridge. I'm wondering, the current situation seems to, like I said, at peak times, get a large backup, and I'm wondering if the new plan addresses some of that or prepares for more people going in that direction.
So our new plan does address that in a couple of ways. This left turn lane here across the bridge is much longer than it currently is, so that'll help with that stacking. And then also by taking a large volume of the traffic off of the interchange ramp here, where they actually go up to University Avenue and then turn to go down when they actually will go under into the roundabout, that'll help free that signal cycle up and improve that.
We have a question here from Daniel Aguilera on Facebook. Who paid for the third lane between Loman and University?
The third lane between Loman and University was an NMDOT project, which was funded by state funds and then also through FHWA.
All right, we also have one question from Mark online asking what will happen during graduation and football games and basketball games, I assume.
So during construction, we'll have the contractor coordinate with NMSU and the local police to make sure that we accommodate them as best as possible. For special event traffic, we've looked at some options of how to handle special event traffic once the project is complete. And one of the things that you notice now when a special event occurs is that traffic on I-25 southbound backs up significantly here as people are trying to come in and turn left into Trevice Avenue. So with this project, because we are providing direct access into NMSU, we are anticipating that the police departments may close maybe this exit of this north roundabout so that there's no traffic here. And they may also close the left lane of Trevice Drive on the south side of University Avenue so that all the traffic would use the bypass lane. And so all of the traffic off of the interstate would just have a free movement around the roundabout and directly into campus. And so with special events, that's how we anticipate that if necessary, the police we'll make modifications and close some roadways to accommodate that higher volume of traffic.
Well, this question comes from Sarah via email. What input has NMSU given on this project, and how will it affect NMSU students?
Well, this project, we've actually affected NMSU students on ways that probably most people wouldn't think of. We've partnered with NMSU Civil Engineering Department, and they've actually used this project as their senior design project for 2 classes, 2 semesters. And so they've got to learn some kind of on-the-ground, hands-on experience with something that's right in their back door. And I think NMSU is going to continue that through construction. Short term, through the construction, obviously people probably need to plan ahead a little bit. Like I said, we're going to keep 2 lanes of traffic open in each direction, but with any construction that goes on, backups often occur. So plan ahead. I know those 8:30 classes or 7:30 classes are rough, but maybe leave a little early. And then once the construction is done, we anticipate that it'll really help the flow into campus, particularly with the southbound off-ramp directly into NMSU and directly out of NMSU. Not only will it alleviate the backup that occurs on I-25 southbound, but also will free up some capacity on I-20 or on University Avenue as well.
So this is from an NMSU student, I believe. Ellen asked this question online. I can't avoid this interchange, so I guess it could be somebody that besides a student. How do you plan to notify the public what is happening during construction?
So during construction, we'll have monthly construction meetings. The DOT will do radio announcements. They'll have press releases if necessary. And then we also have the monthly public meetings with the contractor so that to keep people informed as much as possible. We also have message boards on the project, so we'll alert drivers of any changing conditions that they may experience as well.
My name is Dale Harrell. I'm the university engineer at New Mexico State University. We will also have a website up that will parallel what NMDOT and Moles and Corbin will be putting up. We'll send out messages, weekly updates as what's closed, what's open, probably the best way to go. Also, Stephen Lopez is here, who is the NMSU Police, Chief of Police. He will also be monitoring this stuff to make sure that we have the best information out there, the best ways to go, and ease the students as much as possible, ease their anxieties about which way to go and how do I do it.
It's only been a couple of years since you installed the left 2 turn lanes to go on to I-25 North, and you're taking them back out again. So if my memory serves me right, you put the big loop in, you took it out. You put the left turn in, you took it out. You put the loop back in, and now you got the left turn as well. I see nothing here that's going to assist getting out of New Mexico State University. I see a huge problem of the same problem of it being now worse because you've taken out that turn lane. So people trying to leave the university are going to have more problems than they were in the past. And also I'd like to see something being done on the east side of the university to alleviate some of those stoplights and the delays through there. But I understand it's probably out of the scope of this project. But you are taking out that left turn, which I think is going to create problems for people going north out of the university.
There was a couple of reasons that we took out the left turn lane. The biggest reason was that by having it as a dedicated right turn lane, a free-flowing movement, you didn't have this conflict at the signal, and it also sped up traffic on University Avenue because there wasn't that left turn phase. And then also, because there's a left turn and a right turn, it kind of causes driver confusion now. You're not really sure which lane you're supposed to be on, and so you see people that are kind of guessing at the light of, is it going to be red or green? And then they jump over. If it's green, they jump to the left lane and turn left because that's a little bit faster, but if it's not, then they'll stay in the right lane and go around. And so we're trying to eliminate some of those safety issues. But the biggest thing that we did improve the flow of the interstate here. One of the problems that you have with this left turn lane is that this is Don Roser and Las Alturas, and here's the interstate off on and off ramps. This is a really short distance, and so the signal cycle had to be really short in order for that left turn lane to be accommodated. Because we don't have that left turn lane, we can increase this signal time and decrease the backups that are occurring within this segment particularly. And then as far as improving the traffic signals along University Avenue, we are interconnecting them throughout the project and also up to the Tell Shore intersection as well, so that all of those signals will communicate with each other, and hopefully we can make it where, like if you were to drive Amador or Loman, where you get lots of green time as you're traveling on University.
All right, we're going to give Wyatt a little breather here. And here's a question for Colette. And I think we actually talked about this in the video. But the question is, are you native to New Mexico? And what inspired you for the design of the bridge project?
Yes, I am native. I was born here and a long time ago. I won't give the date. And what was the second part, the inspiration?
Yeah, just what was your inspiration?
Well, I feel like you can't really go bad or wrong with plants and animals. They're pretty easy to please people with those designs. And that's pretty much what I've been doing the last 5 years, is focusing on native New Mexican plants and animals. So I thought it was pretty appropriate for this design project.
Well, and you had some parameters, too, that you had to go with the master plan within MSU as far as the trees and agriculturally and, things like that.
That's true, yes. And there were some things in the prospectus that we had to consider. They called for certain themes, and so I just followed the guidelines for that.
Thank you. All right, this is from Paul Hamilton from Facebook. Will construction be done throughout the night every day or only on days when the highway needs to be shut down?
That's a hard question to answer at this point. I wouldn't expect that construction will be done at night every night. There'll be phases where the contractor's out there for probably weeks on end at night, but then there'll be times where there's probably not any night work going on. It'll just depend on the phase of construction that they're in.
So this question is from Shane on Facebook. Do they have a contractor doing the project, or is it going out to bid?
This project will go out to bid.
Stephen Hawkes on Facebook asks, and I think we just covered this a few minutes ago, will there still be a left turn to get onto I-25 northbound from eastbound traffic?
No, there will not be. You will be required to use the loop ramp and make that right turn. Yeah, that right turn movement is free-flowing, and so you don't have to stop at the signal. So it improves that movement.
So here's another one from Paul Hamilton. I imagine people will exit at Loman to avoid the university exit construction. Has the state considered extending the off-ramp at Loman, maybe putting a third lane from Highway 70 to Loman?
I think that the DOT is looking at a corridor study of all of I-25 from where it begins at the I-10, I-25 interchange all the way through Doniana in the next few years. And it'll probably address some of those issues, but they're not being addressed with this project.
Okay, and this is something that we covered also in the presentation early on, but the question from Kathy is, what are the expected construction dates?
So we're expecting construction to begin in early 2019 and last for approximately 18 months.
Well, thanks, Wyatt. Did a yeoman's work there answering lots of questions. So this concludes the question and answer portion of the meeting. However, you can still email your questions and comments to contact@i25-University.com. Our goal is to keep you informed. So please visit our website, i25-University.com. We'd like to thank our viewers our meeting participants, our experts, and everyone who's been involved in this process this evening, especially you folks here that are in attendance and those online and who've asked questions. But we'll take your feedback and incorporate it as much as possible into the I-25-University project as it continues. Again, thank you, good night, and remember,
Your streets are your business.